All right, we're going to look at this second column of graphs here to be able to determine what is the domain and the range. And so if we look at this first graph here, we are just given a set of ordered pairs. They're discrete points, they're not connected, and so what we can do is list out each of the ordered pairs. Okay, so however you want to do that, if you want to make a T-chart, if you want to write them out as a set of ordered pairs, any of those things would work. So if we look at this first point here, this is the point -4, 3. This point here is the point -2, 3. This point here is the point 0, 3. This is the point, the ordered pair 1, 3. Up here we have the point 2, 5. Here is the point 2, 3. I'm sorry, 3, 5. And then this point is 4, 5. And so however you want to organize your points, but then if we go to list out our domain, the domain would be the set of the following points. We would have -4, -2, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The range would have the point 3 and the point 5. Remember that for this to be a function, we can't have repeats here in the domain or the input value, and we don't, so this is definitely a function. And then our range is just 3 and 5. We're allowed to have doubles in there in the range. We don't have to list them out in our range though. Okay? All right, let's look at our next one here. Our next one is a little bit different because it's a different type of graph. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this part so I have a little bit more space here. And if we look at this graph here, this is one that is connected. It has points that are connected, has arrows on the ends, and so we treat it a little bit differently when we go to look at the set of the domain and the set of the range numbers, okay? If we look at the domain, if we think about what is the point that is the furthest to the left, and so if I go furthest to the left, there is an arrow right here, which tells me it's going to keep going. If I go furthest to the right, there's an arrow, which tells me it's going to keep going. So we can write this a couple different ways. We can say that the domain is the set of all real numbers. There's no restrictions. Or we could say that the domain is all numbers from -infinity to +infinity. That's just a different way of saying all real numbers. Now, if we go to look at our range, I'm going to switch range to green so I can write over top of this and it can be seen. Our range, when we go to look at our y values here, if we look at our y values, the greatest y value occurs right there, and that is the point 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. So -4 is my greatest y value, and then every other y value is going to be less than that. So I could say that my y value is going to either be equal to or less than 4. That's one way of writing it. Another way of writing it might be able to say that it's all numbers that are less than or equal to 4, and that it keeps going smaller and smaller and goes to negative infinity. We could even be asked to write it out and say that it is all real, the range contains all real numbers less than or equal to 4. So you see that there's multiple ways to represent, to state the domain and the range. All right, we're going to go down. We're going to try one more of these. It's the one at the very bottom of the page. I want to try this one because this is a parabola and we'll actually work a lot with this second semester. So let's look at our domain and our range for this. Our domain, if we go to the furthest point to the left, is an arrow, and the furthest point to the right is an arrow. So that means I can have the largest positive number and the smallest negative number. So that means there's no restrictions. So the domain is going to be all real numbers. If we were asked to write it in interval notation, it would be everything between negative infinity and positive infinity. The range, when I go to look at the range and I think about the number over here being the lowest number and the number here being the highest number, my lowest y value occurs right here, which is at 0, -2. So my lowest y value is -2. Any other y value is going to be greater than -2. So I could say that this is between -2 and positive infinity. Another way I can write this is to say all of my y values are greater than or equal to -2. Or I could just write it out in words and say that the range consists of all real numbers greater than or equal to -2.